We have an educator in Brazil, Paulo Freire, that he taught us that education won't change the world, but it will change people, and people may change the world.
100 connected minds for human flourishing.
Welcome to the 100 Connected podcast, a space where education innovators and change makers from around the world come together to share ideas, stories, and real solutions for the future of learning. My name is Hanneke, and I'm joining you from sunny South Africa. I'm the founder of Buzz Kids and the Buzz Foundation, and our aim is to help children learn and develop and to help teachers teach through the performing arts and through play. My regular hosts that are here with me are the beautiful Alex. Alex is representing as an education specialist for implementation from HundrED in Helsinki, Finland.
Hello, hello. It is not at all sunny here. They forgot to bring the sky today.
Sorry, my friend. And then, of course, is Cherelle, who is joining us from Cheza, the company she founded, and she's based in Kenya. Cheza is all about using movement and dance to teach and develop social emotional learning and to empower young people through creativity and community. Hey, Cherelle.
Hi, everyone. Calling from Kenya, so we're almost neighbors, Hanneke,
Yeah.
and I'm very excited to be here today.
Thank you, my friends. And today we're joined by new friends, two of our new guests today, two innovators who are helping schools and systems see learning more clearly and act on what they find. We are joined by Pankaj Agarwal, and he is currently in Korea. He's the founder and CEO of Tag Hive, that is the company behind Class Saathi. It's an affordable, AI-powered classroom solution that makes every learner an active participant, even in places where there's low or no connectivity. So we're excited about learning more about this. And then we have Paula Corneiro. She's the head of innovation at Motriz in Brazil, and she's one of the visionary minds behind Predictors of Learning, a tool that helps school systems understand not just if children are learning, but why, which is so interesting to me, and I want to learn more. So both of you, Pankaj and Paolo, you are working at the intersection of where data, tech, and humanity meets, and you help educators make learning visible and meaningful. We're so interested to learn more. I would love you to take us right back to the beginning. Help us understand what was behind the mission and the why for starting your organization and the problem that it solves, and really help us understand exactly what the innovation does in practice.
Great. Thank you so much. It's good morning here from Brazil. Unfortunately, it's not sunny. We are waiting for summer, but it still is not happening for us. But I'm really thrilled to be here with you today. And I'm honored to talk a little bit about our innovation and about Motriz. Motriz is a nonprofit, actually, and we have been working in governmental system in Brazil for the past decades. And the reason our organization was born is really because in Brazil, we really have a very complex system. We have a federation and we have more than 5,000 municipalities. And all of those different subnational governments have to work by themselves or they're in collaboration. And we are really here to work with them and help them strengthen their capacity so they can deliver the best high quality public policy for their citizens. So our mission is really to put our hands on and really work throughout evidence and the best information we can get from national and international systems to try to guide and learn while we are doing this with the government. So our work sides from two main pillars. We really try to build and strengthen the leadership. We believe the leadership in the governments will be the one that will be able to work and really deliver side by side with the schools, with the teachers, with the school leaders, and they will be driving success for learning outcomes. And we also will work from a pedagogical manner to really try to show the best evidence for curriculum, for assessment, for teacher development, and try to put the puzzle together and bring this to reality. And while we were starting to do this work, we already knew data would be so important because how to choose what's the first step. So we had the evidence, but actually we are learning for each local context from the north of Brazil in the Amazon region or in the south in a more developed city that would be so different. So we starting doing our monitoring process slowly. And then we are really curious to try to learn how the public policy was coming from the central organ that was designing that up to the school. Because every time we work and talk with a government, they will say, I don't understand what's happening. I have a curriculum. I do assessments. I have teachers. Apparently, all the pieces are there, but something is failing on the implementation manner. So that's how the Predictors of Learning tool was beginning to come to reality. And we decided to put voice on those that was really working in the field. So actually our tool tries to combine the data that comes from the secretariat, from the leadership that has the vision for the whole scenario, but also from the school leaders that are receiving this information. So it's a questionnaire. And when we combine all this data, we really have a clear vision where the public policy is breaking through the process and how we can try to make an actual plan year by year to try to thrive. And then we are really excited to see the results. Our evaluation impacts is showing that the predictors of learning actually predict learning. So we are seeing that when a secretariat is following through the plan and working with us, students are learning better. So that's really what inspires us and what makes us try to improve and dedicate to the system every year. So it's a live system of monitoring. It will never end. And we are always trying to bring new evidence, bring new ways to learn from this and go through and really put this in practice. We are so excited because with the support of HundrED and other partners, we tested this also in Colombia this year. And it's amazing to see how data can really come to reality in different contexts and realities.
Wow, that is so interesting. It makes me think about that sort of old adage that what we don't measure, we cannot improve. So many interesting things I want to dive into there. But first, let's hear a little bit from Pankaj. Tell us about yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Hanneke. Thanks, Cherelle, for joining. Good to meet you, Paula. So let me take the thread from where we left, Paula. What you cannot measure is what you cannot manage. That's so true. And this has been the centerpiece of our work as well. And my journey started with technology. I was an engineering student and did my undergrad in India, did my master's in Korea, worked on flat panel displays at Samsung. I used to work on the TVs, the flat TVs. And then after my MBA at Harvard, I came back and worked at Samsung as an innovator. And I used to visit my school in India and found that the classrooms there were still the old type. It's one way. Teachers are teaching. So teachers are basically a sage on the stage. And unlike US, where I was kind of given a feeling that the teacher should be a guide on the side. So wanted to make learning more interactive, more engaging, and started kind of diving into why I will solve this problem or why somebody else has not solved the problem. So I went to the schools in India for around 6 months and found that most technologies that are built for schools or classrooms are heavy. Most technologies that are used are not simple to understand. And most technologies need some infrastructure, meaning electricity or internet. And I wanted to build something keeping these constraints in mind because I'm an innovator and innovator works well when you have constraints upon the conditions. So I used these constraints and built my own criteria of building a product. And the idea was, of course, to increase interactivity in the classroom, but make it sustainable. I mean, try to build a product that can work. So a lot of iterations with which any new product will have. And we went through like 8-9 iterations. And finally, what we have is a very simple mechanism for teachers to understand in real time how many students have understood what he or she just taught. Let's say, Hanneke, you're teaching me about how podcast works. And you keep on speaking and you don't get a chance to even understand whether we all understood how it works. It is all a lost effort, right? But what if you are able to get micro data every now and then, acknowledging the fact that people have understood? So we build that mechanism, that technology where teachers can very promptly, very quickly, with a lot of ease, get the micro data in the classrooms, from the classrooms. For example, teacher taught something on solar system. They can ask a quick question using our software, which is class Saathi. And every student gets a device like this in their hands, a clicker. This is a student response system. So it is a clicker, very self-intuitive, right? And at the back is the roll number of the student. So a child gets this throughout the year. And when a student has asked the question, it's a multiple choice, quick formative assessment type. But the real joy is in the software, because the software can really collect these data over time and provide good insights on which students are at grade level proficiency, who are above and below grade level proficiency. Every child is engaged. We have now no backbenchers because everybody's voice is heard. Teachers don't have to choose between the students who can participate, who cannot participate. Every child participates now. And because it works without internet in the classroom, there is no dependency on the connectivity at all. So we've deployed it in around 15,000 classrooms today and across multiple countries. We are in India, South Korea, Malaysia, Vietnam, and South Africa. South Africa also has this, by the way, Hanneke, and I'm sure you'll see it one day. So we also enjoy, and at the moment we kind of worked with Indian schools initially, we found that why do we stay within India or Korea? Let's make it more global. And then we said, hey, if you want to make it global, keep it simple, further simple. Our initial criteria also keep it simple. This does not have a user manual, by the way. You don't need a user manual, just like you don't need a user manual for using YouTube. Okay. So something of that kind was our intention. And now this product is universal. We are seeing a lot of traction everywhere. And it's just a matter of time that the word will spread. And I really thank HundrED for spotting us and putting us on the map. So looking forward to see how we grow and make this vision of interactive classrooms possible everywhere.
Pankaj, thank you so much for that story. And I think we all have a lot of questions for each other. At least I'm like buzzing. But my first question is, like, Paula, of course, works. It's the premise of working with the government, and that is how systems change is happening. And Pankaj, what opportunities do you see of working with government, or is there already collaboration with government where you see that your innovation is going to be that system level change?
Absolutely. So governments are looking for simple technologies. In India, we have been invited to participate in few tenders through the smart classroom projects. And a smart classroom is smarter if you're able to measure learning more regularly. And in that context, we become a part of the proposal. So we have supplied in a couple of states in India already. We have done around 2,000 classrooms, government school classrooms in India. We run continuous pilots. We show efficacy studies. We also deploy third-party assessment companies to work with us and show the impact on learning outcomes. We have shown that the outcomes improve. So we work with governments in India mostly. We also engage with ADB, which is Asia Development Bank in Manila, and they have 69 member countries or so who have seen our product and they want to bring it to their countries. We also work with South Korean government, with the Department of Education to show how this works, and they want to also bring it to some of their classrooms. What our realization has been, the government generally take a lot of time to decide on any particular technology or idea, which is time taking. And because we are a for-profit company, we want to, the reason for being a for-profit company is we want to really create a structure where things can be more sustainable and we don't have to depend on donors' money for long. Impact is our first bottom line. Profit is our second bottom line. And we have seen that because governments take some time to decide, we didn't want to wait for so long. We started working in private school space as well. In fact, after school tuition centers also started liking our product. So we have been exploring these new opportunities, private schools in India, where decision makers are either owners or a trustee who runs the school. So we've done across, government schools, private schools, tuition centers, and finding different channels to get into these classrooms.
That's so interesting, because I do think you need both to work. You work on a micro level. Also very interested what Paula has to say about that part of government and decision-making power.
Perfect. Thank you. Governments are complex and the bureaucracy is there, but we do believe that with the proper information, they are really willing to do something different. So I was working in the government before joining Motriz. I moved from São Paulo to the northeast of Brazil, and I was working with a secretariat that is really struggling with bad results. And it's not about lack of willing. It's not about lack of people that are working with all their hearts and passion. But the system many times are designed to not accelerate the process. So we do believe that only if we help the government to overcome the obstacles that are put over there, we will have sustainable results, because the ecosystem from private companies, from nonprofits, from other parallel organizations like banks and everybody are so important. But ultimately, the public services will always be delivered by the governments. So we really want to be part of the process that strengthens the government so they can be performing the best work ever. And I hope that one day when Pankaj is coming to Brazil, because I'm really interested for that moment, we'll be here having a better ecosystem to receive and thrive for different innovation. So it's an ongoing process, but for sure it's not easy. But I think when we try to change the mindsets of how we can work together and overcome this barrier, let's go to the next one, we can really see amazing results. And we are seeing this flourish in so many different local governments over here.
So I'll just correct a point perhaps which may be misunderstood. When I say governments are slow, I didn't mean in a way that there is a lot of bottleneck somewhere. What I meant was I've also found that there are a lot of companies in every space and everybody wants to be everywhere. And there's governments want to vet it out before they make a choice. And that is why I think things may take a slightly longer time. And I think it's a good thing because you're talking about the future of children and you don't want to take any hasty decision. So we are actually okay with the governments taking time to decide between the projects. And these days, recently, we have seen in India as well that a lot of young people are actually entering the bureaucracy. People who have just graduated like a couple of years ago. And these people are as enthusiastic as Paula is, who want to make a change. And they have chosen this track. They have not been forced into this. So they really want to be making an impact. And hence, I've seen there is a sort of discontent within the government bureaucracy as well that, hey, I want to make things happen. I'm just stuck somewhere. And there's so much to look at before we qualify one company or multiple companies. And hence, I think it is taking time, which is a very good change, by the way. I think young people coming into governments and trying to drive this change is something that we really can benefit from.
I really want to position both of your products sort of in contrast and in comparison to one another and really understand it a little bit deeper, if we may. I have a saying, explain this to me like I've just dropped in from Mars. And so far, what I'm picking up, and help me and correct me here, but both of you are in the business of, or in the work of collecting information, collecting data. And that data goes to different eyes and ears and for different reasons, potentially, to sway policy and to see what's happening on a country level, potentially, Paula, and more. And how I understand what you're speaking about, Pankaj, is your product, this particular product seems to me that even in a class level, right there and then, teacher can collect quick touch base on this concept that I'm teaching today. What is the understanding level? And almost instantly get that feedback. How does it work? Like you showed us a little device. How does the teacher get it? Does she plug into or he plug into a computer? How do they get that information? And what capabilities do they have with that again?
So, what we do is we give this magic bag to the school, this bag. So to your point, dropping in from Mars, you get this bag, you open the bag, you have these clickers all arranged like this. So you open the bag, that is the first step. Second step is you install the application on the computer or on the smart board or on the smartphone, and you choose your class and you add the students and you assign a clicker, as we call it, to each student. That's it. I know there is some step required, but in 10 minutes, I can promise you are through. In the 11th minute, from installation to playing the first quiz is your sort of entire time period. So learning curve is very easy. And let's say you have set it up, you are having an interactive smart board, a smart board in the classroom. You use our software to open a question. For example, you taught on reptile. You can write reptile there, and it will give you questions on reptile. Is reptile this or that? Well, how many colors of reptiles are there? All those questions you will get depending on the grade level. And then teachers can instantly see who is responding what. If there are 40 students in the class, only 30 have responded, you can see 30 have responded, 10 have not responded. So you can nudge those 10 students, hey, what happened? And then also teachers have a choice to see the answer right then and there. Or if they want to disclose the answer later on, that's also there. So there are a lot of accommodation settings that we have to help teachers design the class experience. But it is as simple as that. So I taught about reptiles. I would only move to the next topic if I am very confident that it is done. And then what also we do once the class is over, we let teachers actually connect the dots. For example, if reptile was a poor concept for the children in my class, I will show you why it is a poor concept or how can we strengthen this concept. Instead of just teaching reptiles, I would actually show you what are the other skills that are necessary to teach before you come to this part of the concept. So we show you a full sort of a grid with connected skills that you may want to teach so that you can, teachers need support. We want to make teachers more empowered. So these kind of additional data points and real-time feedback can help teachers stay more relevant in the classroom and have everybody on the same page. They teach less, but teach more effectively.
That's interesting. And just before Paula, you help us understand more about yours, and then we'll try and connect, both of these products. I was at a conference this weekend about redefining education and looking at the future of education. And there's a revolutionary school leader here in South Africa who has scrapped homework up until grade 6, which is exactly what I think it should be. And he was talking about lots of touch base for the teacher all the time to test concepts as opposed to testing all the time. Testing, grading. We over-test and overgrade because the teacher doesn't seem to have the confidence in the moment to quickly make sure the class is with me, the class is with me, the class is with me. So that seems like you're answering to that question, to give the teacher the confidence to go, I have had my checkpoints throughout the year, throughout the week, throughout the month to understand where my class is so I can move on. So Paula, help us connect to that, to your product.
Was trying to imagine the classroom, and I was thinking exactly how you were thinking, Hanneke. And I think it's amazing because this really empowers on understanding why the children may not be learning. So you really are empowered of the information that can make the change. Because when we assess, we only assess, and assessments are super important. I'm not saying they are not, but many times we are just like doing the tests, but we're not able to really try to understand where the skill was not really in comprehension, why that children's not able to go further. So it's really amazing. And I think that's maybe the connection over here, because ultimately we are really trying to understand why we are not having better learning outcomes in that municipality or states. So that's why the predictive learning was designed. So when we start the relationship with a local government, we will always bring in a very straightforward way that we need information. A diagnosed is the best way to make the better investment, to make the better actual plan. So then we can really start to make a very active and effective work together. So that's the first step of our relationship. And we do this collection of data every year. Usually we stay with a government for 6 years. So we have like this data that's repeating every year. Maybe we are trying to think about doing this in a more periodical way. So doing many different times of the years. So we will have interviews with the local government. So we have their perspective. And the school leaders will be assessing this platform. And we are really trying to do this now in a much more designed for a product way. Like Pankaj was telling us, nobody had to teach you how to access YouTube and do this. We are really trying to learn as a nonprofit and not as an ed tech, how we can do this. So right now the platform is much more user-friendly, and they just have to access this, and they have some different questions that are leading them to reflection. So we'll not just ask them, do you recognize your secretariat has a curriculum? They will answer that, but they will also answer, I know the curriculum, and I know my teachers are planning their class using the curriculum. So we are really trying to understand where is that, because if you have a good curriculum, but the teacher development is not being focused of they're being really aware of that information and using them in the school and the class planning, it will not be really being helpful for the children. So it's different questions we go throughout that the whole key areas of a secretariat. And then we have a statistical algorithm that will bring this in an average grade from 0 to 10. And then we can really do a prioritization to work in the areas that are struggling the most. So that's how we define the key strategical plan for that year. And that's how we go every year. So we are really trying to make an effort for what's the reality of that local government, and not trying to put something that's not in shape of them. So that's how it comes together right now. And that will be posed together by the expert team that will work with them. But right now we are trying to learn if AI can help us so we can help expand scale. Because right now it's like a pedagogical senior expert that will define the plan with the secretariat. So we really are trying to understand if AI can be a powerful partner here and try to help us bring this further.
So I think I want to add a comment here, if that's okay. So Paula, I think you are doing this assessments once a year. just because you have bandwidth constraints, I'm sure your capacity limitation, you want to do it more, but you cannot do more. We feel that, something similar happens in India. There's a company that does these every year, and they will prepare the report for the entire country. And I think this data, while they're great, but the students who gave this data, they did not really benefit from this because the damage is already done, as we say. We cannot fix that now. How about if we get this data more periodically, as you are intending to do going forward? The limitation would be, in terms of capacity. Like, you don't have people whom you can send to all these locations. Hence, a technology like ours, if it is in schools, it makes it very easy for you to not even go there in the school. You have a dashboard where you can see all the diagnostic tests, and you can do it every month if you want to on any topic. You can push the content from the back end and then ask the school to go online for a few minutes, and the questions will be there on those schools' platform, and they can do the assessment. So I think once you have more data, we don't have to wait for the entire year to inform the secretariat. You can actually inform them more regularly so that they can take action. Because many times what happens with governments, the people change, and then the new folks, when they come, they need to get a new download. And I think who suffers the most? The students. I mean, it's not like building roads. Roads can wait, but students' future will not wait. It's just, stacking up. And hence, I think we need to be collecting this data more often and then showing it more regularly to people so that the decisions can be made to benefit these people. So that's just a
That's
thought.
such a good point.
We should work together. I'm ready for that.
Absolutely, Paula. Because you worked with government earlier, I know you can crack it, you know how to make it move for us. And yeah, I think this is awesome.
One of the things that I've been thinking about as the two of you are describing the work that you do is that both of you are collecting truly massive amounts of data. And Pankaj, yours is mostly quantitative. And Paula, I know from the work that Motriz has done with HundrED that there's a fair amount of qualitative data as well. But either way, both of you are frankly drowning in data. There's so much that's coming in. The question that comes to mind is, how do you then help the people that need to understand this? So, Pankaj, in your case, it might be the teachers or maybe the school administrators. Paula, for you, it's government partners, the school system administrators. How do you make sure that data tells the story that you need? If you think about the new administrator who's coming in, they need to download, but more than they need to download, they need a narrative that they can understand, that they can say, here's what's going on here. From my own experience as a classroom teacher, I often found myself collecting data. I would do formative assessments. I would teach vocab or grammar, and then I would do something and I would look at it. And I would get a feeling, okay, they're doing well, they're not doing well, but I don't really know what to do with this. We just don't have enough time. So I'm wondering, how do we make sure that this action actually tells a story that's useful instead of just being another thing, another pile of data, another set of numbers?
So, I think, when a teacher, we have seen a lot of anecdotes, a lot of stories that when teachers do these assessments, they start to feel more responsible. And many times teachers feel that they are being evaluated, honestly, by the people who are seeing this data, because if the students are not doing great, that means teachers did not teach well. So there are layers of connectivity here. For example, the classroom data, first, students see the data as well as the teachers are seeing it, because then students will feel, oh, I'm not the only one who don't know the answer. That is very important for a student who is not performing. So they get more conviction, or more they don't have to be so anxious about not knowing. So that is immediate benefit. Second is when teachers see that classroom performance, and on a topic score is say 10% or 20%, do you think the teachers will go to the next topic? They'll pause and they'll say, hey, what went wrong? Let us just look at it again. So that is very, very psychological. And we have found that when teachers have told in the classroom that they will have a quiz today, the students tend to just lean in because they want to get the right answer in the classroom. So that behavior change happens from the students as well. The moment the teachers say that there will be a quiz. So talking about data again, so students benefit, teachers benefit right away. And then this data goes to the principal of the school, the admin of the school. It goes to parents if they have smartphones. It goes to also to the administrator, the district administrator. So we have, clusters, districts, blocks, and all that. So you can see at different levels. You can see gender-wise data as well. You can see date-wise, topic-wise. We have been told, it has not happened so far. We've been told that this can be used for teacher training purposes as well. Right now, teacher training happens like a cookie-cutter approach. Every teacher gets the same training because there's no way to sort of bifurcate who needs what. But because of this, you can create clusters. Okay, these teachers need support with chapter number 1 to 3. These teachers need support on these topics. So it can really be a great way to inform teacher training. and make it more effective. It can also allow teachers to, the administration to see, oh, these schools are good in these chapters. So let us have an instructor from here come and teach these other instructors who are not doing so great in that topic particularly. So this is what we have seen so far. And we feel that the very fact that we are collecting makes people more accountable, that action, that mindset changes. And then we collect very small data. For example, we also collect data when a student has a doubt, they can actually press the doubt button here on our clicker. So that data is again helpful. So it is up to the teachers kind of level. If teachers want to do more, they can do more. So they have this data. For example, if I'm a teacher and if I see that there are 10 students who have pressed the help button, after the class is over, I would want that those 10 students to stay behind and help them perhaps with more sort of support. So this is how you do. Also, what happens is we also see, teachers can see who has changed the response. A student could initially press A, and then maybe after some thought, maybe press a B as an option, change the answer, right, on their clickers. Teachers can also know that piece. So then teachers will see, oh, this student is confused. If everybody is doing that, then teachers would know this, while the students got the right answer, but they were confused because they changed the response. So there are a bunch of these kind of elements that we have. But we also see if students are giving answer correctly and fast, correctly, but slow, incorrect, fast, incorrect, slow. So you kind of create different ideas from each of these combinations. And then you draw insights of, is it just a guesswork or is it really a thoughtful work? And you can, with enough data, you can actually start to create meaningful recommendations for teachers. So as you mentioned, Alex, you have the data, but you don't know what to do because you did not have an AI there. But because now we have so much of data, AI is available now. There's so many AI engines, but there's not enough data. So if you have this so much of data, you feed into the AI, and then AI will tell you what actually we should make a sense of from these data points, right? So I think earlier people had no data or a lot of data, but no AI, difficult to process. But now AI is so pervasive. It's like internet. Everybody, we can just pass it through a GPT, and then GPT will tell you what to look at in these data points, as long as we have collected those data points. So that is what we do. We've seen good progress, and there are a bunch of other things. I'll just add one more thing. We also have this additional element of at-home tutor, virtual tutor. So when a student goes at home, they can download the application Class Saathi, and they will get a virtual tutor for each subject. Now, this virtual tutor is like a GPT interface, but it is different in that this tutor knows about the child's performance in the class. It knows this child was great in these topics, not great in these topics. So it will create its own knowledge map of the child and try to help the students feel more comfortable. Unlike a tutor which comes at home or you go to a tuition center, that tutor has no idea about what's going on in the classroom. So it will be like a cold start problem, right? But in this case, because the tutor knows what has happened, I think it will be more friendly and more relevant to the child. So we are kind of trying to push the boundaries here, and we see that we propose more ideas.
That's so cool. And if I may, as I understood, it's basically saying data is only helpful if it's usable. So
Yes.
maybe the magic here, and I think it's something similar for both of us, is just not collect the information, but is bringing this with the information of what to do next. What this data can really maybe guide you for the implementation plan that will make the difference, and make it clear for people that this is giving you more time, is giving you more efficiency, and this is bringing you closer for the collective mission over here that's bringing more learning outcomes for the students. So I think that's the key point for us as well, is really making clear for everybody that data is beautiful. It's amazing to have information. But okay, how we are going to use that? How can we really bring this down to a very clear pathway so that we will be used not only by teachers, not only by the school leaders, but by the system. So everybody is working together for a different result.
There's also an ethical piece, I think, to where we are in the world today in 2025 around data collection and making sure that it is kind of used for the good. And then I guess the good needs quantifying in and of itself, because who is the authority on morality in this case? But we do know that like the data is going to be worth more than gold in this world, and it is already so. And you are collecting children's information. I guess that there are certain players in the world where that information of individual children can be worth a lot. So it's about moving through and with this very ethically, I imagine, as well. So there's that part of it that I'm just thinking of as you share this. And I wanted to delve a little bit into what you described, Pankaj, because I'm building this picture of all of what's possible in my mind around it. Think about with us a little bit here is and how it compares and contrasts to the chatbot model, because you know the danger that someone like Jonathan Haidt in Anxious Generation is talking about in terms of tech is that what that feedback, instant feedback to the child does is that is gamifying learning to the point that it becomes a bit like a slot machine for an adult, and the dopamine hit then becomes like, oh. Whereas in your case, I'm just wondering, like the pros and the cons of being able to hide that dopamine hit potentially, if needed, straight back to the child. So I'm liking this device where there is a measure of control.
I think chatbots and all these are definitely innovations, but these technologies are only serving a few students. And very recently, Bill Gates said that most technologies in education serve only those who are motivated. Very few of these technologies actually help those who are struggling. So these students become those students who use chatbot, they're just benefiting, but not everybody. And it can be distraction. So what we do, we're different from, I generally don't recommend chatbots or anything of this kind because it just sucks you in. I think in a classroom, you should be having no screens at all. You are there for the experience to talk to people. You anyway have screens outside the classroom. You cannot escape from there. So at least the classroom should be a place where you have no screens to use. And the device like this, generally, basically we made this to be a screen-free device, no screens here. Children cannot do much about it. They will get bored by just playing with it. So it's just an input device and it does not break. They cannot even break it. But idea is the data that comes from this device is then saved for the virtual tutor of the student. When the student goes home, they can also use a chatbot on our system as an optional thing. But that chatbot is aware of the student's level in the classroom. So it'll be more friendly. And we have designed with that chatbot with a lot of boundary conditions. To help the child stay within the curriculum. If you ask a maths teacher a science question, it will say, hey, I'm a maths teacher. I cannot answer that. Or if you ask a tough question, it say, hey, you should learn these topics first. So kind of bringing the child back to the classroom setting or classroom level of knowledge is what we are trying to do. And talking about ethical pieces, it is unethical if you start using data to market people with more products and all. We feel that we have built a product that is very powerful in its own way. We don't need to show them more products. I mean, that is a part of our privacy policy. We don't share the third parties at all. So the data that we collect is so binary or rather limiting that, you cannot use that to draw inferences beyond just academic.
I just want to compliment you on that because I think, getting the balance right between what tech can do and protecting all these different things like the child's data, but also not hooking them to another screen. And all of that really is just, I think it's hitting it exactly at the right balance point. And then, taking this data and inferring from it bigger and more interesting trends or whatnot. I think it's really brilliant. And I stand by what you're saying about bots. And for me, that sort of gamifying of learning is a very dangerous place. People think, oh, kids love video games, so let's make their maths a video game. And there's a question around whether or not that's actually good.
Also, one more thing, Hanneke, if I can add, most people use these chatbots and all, and they're depending on that so much that they make those chatbots their first brain. I always tell even to my kids that, these GPTs and all are great stuff, but there is a risk that this becomes your first brain. Our first brain is our brain, right? Those additional devices should be your second brain. But many kids are just depending on the second brain to be the first brain, and their first brain just goes away. So even for simple things, you would say, hey, let me just check it on chatbot, something of that thing. And you don't want to think beyond, your thinking capacity reduces and all that happens. So I think it's not a great idea, at least early till grade 6, 7, 8. I think we should avoid using chatbots at all, in my opinion. The tenacity drops, the capacity to think deeper drops. You kind of find easy solutions. All of that is there. And I mean, it's a concern, honestly. I am really worried about chatbots becoming so prevalent that, these students will not think more. It's okay. It's just like, using calculators so quickly.
Yeah.
I think that's part of what we as an education community need to help people understand the difference, because I think the common sort of user and or parent and or teacher and or government representative making these choices need to understand those nuanced differences. Paula, I imagine like with many different, in South Africa, Brazil, we have so many similarities, that disparity between the haves, the have-nots, the very underserved and the wealthier communities, and all those different similarities in our cultures. It's about, I think, part of our work here, and the work of HundrED is also so important here, is to help educate the user, because it's a dime a dozen products. at their fingertips. Your thoughts on that, Paula?
Yeah, that's an amazing discussion. And when Pankaj was guiding us through how that work, I was amazed on how simple it is, the device. And we recently had a federal law in Brazil that forbids cell phones in schools. They are only allowed for pedagogical use. And we are already seeing so many good effects on that. I was in a school recently and I listened from a school leader. Now the lunchtime has noise again. Children are talking, they're running. Like they're not just there scrolling. And that's like the best effect, but we're also able to see the outcomes in learning already. So it really shows off so quickly. And I totally agree with everything you were saying about how we should be careful to use technology as an ally and not as substitutes. Children does not want to be playing all day in video games. Maybe that's easier for us, but we really need to make sure they have other options. So that's super helpful. I think what I really come from this conversation is how we should always use data not to find blame or guilt, but really how to understand data as assets to make a coherent plan and really to make sure we are able to act on where we should be acting and make this a shared goal. Because many times when we do not have the data that is showing us how to act, we may have like parallel initiatives that are not working together. So when we have data, we are able to make a commitment and really act on the design. And that's amazing. So I think that's something we should always try to be thriving and combine these different companies and works and different tools could be even be great. So when I see governments, my ultimate goal is that we have like a whole dashboard with all the different data and we do not have parallel initiatives all the time because that could make the difference for the children and also for the teachers.
And that's a wonderful point. I think we have seen this fact, by the way, Paula, that you mentioned about data not being used for judgment purposes. Teachers sometimes hesitate to use our product because they think, hey, I'll be judged. But if you tell them that it's your data, you can choose to delete the sets if you want to. I mean, this is just an assessment for learning, not assessment of learning, rather. So you are using this for your own purpose and help you become more effective and fulfilled with your classes that you're doing. Then the adoption starts to come in. This is such an important point. Thanks for sharing.
Yes, because in both your stories, I see a lot of opportunity to be more efficient in education. And that is more in terms of customizing and adapting. And it's on both levels that you're working on. In the classroom, a teacher can say, hey, these students, I might need to spend a little bit more attention to these students and customize their learning, or with teacher training. And Paula, you do the same actually on a government level where you say, this region or this county actually needs this type of training or this type of support, and we can adapt really and put our efforts where it's most needed. And I think this is a big trend in education where we see like we're not all the same, like not all diets work for the same people, not all environments. And it's, I think, the same in education, that we need to think more of how to customize learning. And I think both of you are trying to do that on very different scales. So I think that's really beautiful to see.
So we like to bring our sessions together by reminding, HundrED is an organization that's looking for the future of education, how we are going to help every child to flourish in the future. And so I think both of you have laid out a really compelling story, as Cherelle said, of how do we use this data and use it to tell stories that help each of us understand, either on the classroom level or at the system level, how we need to modify, how we need to adapt, and not even need to, how we can, right? What are the opportunities here for each of us? So as we look to the future, and maybe don't even take this from the point of view of Class Saathi or from Predictors of Learning, but Paula and Pankaj, what do you personally hope for the future of education as you look into the distance?
So I feel that every child should achieve the full potential that they have, and the society should not define their boundaries of growth. Every child should get, the point of equity in learning, every child should get to the point where he or she belongs. I think every child is special and they have something that they need to kind of unexpose or expose rather through the journey of education, their strengths. This is what I want to be. This is who I am. This is what I like to do. This is why I am in this earth. So all those things, that idea about self is very important to be discovered. And education process should help the child to discover that. A good education is one where a child is able to be ready for the future. So, and I think future readiness only happens when you are doing something in the future that is right for you. If I'm an entrepreneur working in education, honestly, it has happened to me. I never planned it. And because I went to a few of the good schools in the world, I was able to make choices. But I felt lucky. Things happened to me. But there are a lot of people I know who are good in certain things, but have not been able to do those things because of societal pressures, because they did not have an opportunity to pursue that track. So I feel that, every child should get to where they belong, and there's a natural instinct in everybody for something, and that should become their passion and the job. Then the world becomes much more joyful place, a better place, and we all are happy and we have less stress, and productivity is at its peak. Then everybody is doing because they enjoy doing that thing.
Couldn't agree more. While you were speaking, I remembered a powerful phrase that always comes to me. We have an educator in Brazil, Paulo Freire, that he taught us that education won't change the world, but it will change people, and people may change the world. And that's also always for me such a striking phrase. And that's ultimately what I believe, and I know Motriz also believes, is that education may give the opportunities and the chances, as Pankaj was telling us, so everybody can fulfill their ultimate goals in life. So for me, it's just how, as a society, we are going to be providing a quality education with equity and for independent of your gender, your race, your social status. So you have equal opportunities to follow your path and your passion so we can move forward as a community, as a world. So that's for me is the key for social justice. And I do believe education may change everything. So that's why we should be working every day to make sure no children is left behind.
Thank you both. The 100 Connected podcast is a creation of the Connection Committee, Annette Defa, Cherelle Druppers, Hanneke, Mackie, and Lindsay Stewart, and is produced by 100 and edited by me, Alex Shapero. Learn more about 100, its innovations, and our community by visiting our website at 100.org.